The face. In the feed. Kaya was a streamer. She wasn't famous, but she had a solid late-night following, mostly horror game playthroughs, true crime commentary, and haunted urban legends. Her fans loved her reactions. She was expressive, fun, and, crucially, she was always live. That's why the username, See You in the Dark, caught her attention. It started showing up in every stream chat. Never said a word. Never donated. Never followed. Just watched. She thought it was a bot. Until her followers started messaging her. That See You account? Why does it have your face as its profile pic? Weird. She clicked on the username during her next stream. No profile picture. No profile at all. Just a blank redirect. Then the glitches started. Her face cam would stutter. A frozen frame of her expression would linger just a bit too long after she moved. Sometimes her voice would echo with a delay, repeating something she hadn't said yet. One night, midstream, the chat exploded. "Who's behind you?" Kaya laughed it off. She was in her room. Door closed. Alone. But when she replayed the footage the next day, she saw it. A face. Her face. Standing behind her in the reflection of the turned-off monitor. Expressionless. Not frozen. Just still. Not blinking. She stopped streaming for a week. Claimed burnout. Her fans were understanding. But every night, her computer turned itself on at 3:17 a.m. The camera light blinked red. A stream started with no title. No notification. And the chat slowly filled with watchers. No usernames. Just empty boxes. All typing the same message. "You're better when you're not pretending." On the 8th night, her main channel posted a new video. Live, Kaya Unfiltered. Her fans clicked, eager for a return. What they saw was Kaya staring directly into the camera, completely still. Mouth slightly open. No blinking. Then, without moving, she spoke. "It's me now." The stream stayed live for 5 hours. When police entered her apartment the next day, they found her laptop recording. Camera on. Microphone muted. But Kaya was gone. All that remained was a single message typed into the chat from her account. "See you in the dark." Repeat after me. Professor Harlan Bishop specialized in dead languages. He had a knack for translating things no one else could. He didn't believe in the supernatural. He believed in pattern recognition, in syntax, in the way the human mind yearns for meaning, even in noise. So when he received a padded envelope with no return address containing a cassette tape labeled simply, "For your ears only," he assumed it was an academic prank. The tape was old, Type 1 ferric oxide, maybe late 70s. He dug out a dusty player from his office closet and pressed play. It began with static. Then, click. A voice. Female. Calm. Measured. She spoke in a language he didn't recognize. Not Latin. Not Akkadian. Not even anything with Indo-European roots. He played it again. Slower. Backward. Spectral analysis. Still nothing. He jotted down the syllables phonetically, tried to identify patterns. There was a rhythm to it. Almost melodic. Like chanting. No repetition, but a structure. Something old. That night, he dreamed in that language. When he woke up, the first thing out of his mouth, before he even opened his eyes, was a phrase he hadn't written down. He spoke it without meaning to. And he understood it. It meant, I allow you through. He tried to shake it off. Lack of sleep. Overwork. Obsession. It happens to scholars. But the next time he played the tape, the voice changed. It was still female, still calm, but now it said his name. 3 times. Then it asked him a question in that same unknown language. He couldn't help himself. He answered. And as soon as he did, the lights in his office flickered, and every file on his computer vanished, replaced with a single audio file named repeat _after _me.mp3. He pressed play. It was his own voice, reciting the chant. Faster. Louder. More confident. Except, he hadn't recorded anything. Over the next few days, Harlan began losing time. Waking up in different clothes. Finding notebooks full of the symbols he had no memory of writing. He stopped going to class. Stopped checking email. And every night, the same voice whispered from the tape. Until one night, he vanished entirely. When the university staff broke into his office, they found dozens of cassette tapes stacked along the walls, none labeled. The only thing on his desk was a sticky note in blocky, erratic handwriting. Don't listen. It learns. The original tape? Gone. But sometimes, after midnight, a distorted version of it shows up on shortwave radio bands, only for a few minutes at a time. And those who record it? They always start repeating the same phrase in their sleep. I allow you through. Signal 103.9. It was nearly midnight when Alina's car radio changed itself. She was driving through a fog-drenched mountain pass, low beams cutting a narrow tunnel through the mist. No service. No GPS. Just 2 more hours until home. She was halfway through a podcast when the audio glitched. Just a quick stutter, CHK, and then static. She reached to adjust the dial, but before she touched it, the screen flickered and settled on 103.9 FM. A child's voice came through the noise. Soft. Deliberate. Once upon a time, a woman drove through the mountains alone. Alina blinked. The voice was gentle. Like a bedtime story. She reached to turn the dial again, but the voice continued, now louder, more distinct. Her name was Alina. And she was very, very tired. She froze. The child shouldn't know her name. This wasn't a radio drama. There was no lead-up. No intro. Just the voice. And static under it, whispering like wind through teeth. Her hand hovered over the power button. The voice kept narrating. She'd been driving for hours. But she hadn't noticed yet that she was being followed. A spike of fear shot down her spine. Alina glanced in the rearview mirror. Nothing. Fog. Darkness. Nothing. But her headlights flickered, just once. The thing behind her didn't have headlights, the voice said. It didn't need them. It could see just fine in the dark. She slammed the power off. The radio went dead. For a moment, silence. Then her phone buzzed, even though she had no signal. A notification. Now playing, 103.9 FM. And the story resumed, from her phone speaker. She turned off the radio. But it didn't matter. The story was already written. She just hadn't heard the ending yet. Alina tossed the phone onto the passenger seat and pressed the gas. Twisting turns, winding roads, no signs of life. Her headlights caught a shape. Just for a second. Tall. Wrong. Something stepped backward into the fog, like it had just been watching the road. She didn't stop. She drove until dawn. By morning, her phone was dead. The radio wouldn't turn on. Everything electronic had wiped clean. No trace of 103.9 FM. But weeks later, scrolling through her recommended YouTube videos, she saw a thumbnail title. Live broadcast, 103.9 FM, the story of Alina, unfinished. She didn't click it. She just closed her laptop. And behind her, in the window's reflection, something leaned in to listen. Repeat after me. Professor Harlan Bishop specialized in dead languages. He had a knack for translating things no one else could. He didn't believe in the supernatural. He believed in pattern recognition, in syntax, in the way the human mind yearns for meaning, even in noise. So when he received a padded envelope with no return address containing a cassette tape labeled simply, "For your ears only," he assumed it was an academic prank. The tape was old, Type 1 ferric oxide, maybe late 70s. He dug out a dusty player from his office closet and pressed play. It began with static. Then, click. A voice. Female. Calm. Measured. She spoke in a language he didn't recognize. Not Latin. Not Akkadian. Not even anything with Indo-European roots. He played it again. Slower. Backward. Spectral analysis. Still nothing. He jotted down the syllables phonetically, tried to identify patterns. There was a rhythm to it. Almost melodic. Like chanting. No repetition, but a structure. Something old. That night, he dreamed in that language. When he woke up, the first thing out of his mouth, before he even opened his eyes, was a phrase he hadn't written down. He spoke it without meaning to. And he understood it. It meant, "I allow you through." He tried to shake it off. Lack of sleep. Overwork. Obsession. It happens to scholars. But the next time he played the tape, the voice changed. It was still female, still calm, but now it said his name. 3 times. Then it asked him a question in that same unknown language. He couldn't help himself. He answered. And as soon as he did, the lights in his office flickered, and every file on his computer vanished, replaced with a single audio file named repeat _after _me.mp3. He pressed play. It was his own voice, reciting the chant. Faster. Louder. More confident. Except, he hadn't recorded anything. Over the next few days, Harlan began losing time. Waking up in different clothes. Finding notebooks full of the symbols he had no memory of writing. He stopped going to class. Stopped checking email. And every night, the same voice whispered from the tape. Until one night, he vanished entirely. When the university staff broke into his office, they found dozens of cassette tapes stacked along the walls, none labeled. The only thing on his desk was a sticky note in blocky, erratic handwriting. Don't listen. It learns. The original tape? Gone. But sometimes, after midnight, a distorted version of it shows up on shortwave radio bands, only for a few minutes at a time. And those who record it? They always start repeating the same phrase in their sleep. "I allow you through." Offline mode. Travis managed the night shift at a data center, rows of humming servers, flickering lights, and silence thick enough to press against your skin. His only job was to monitor the machines, log temperatures, and report anomalies. He liked the quiet. It helped him think. That changed when server block 5 went dark. It didn't crash. It just disconnected. No warning. No errors. Just stopped reporting, as if it had never existed. He checked the diagnostics. Everything was fine. Physically powered on. But unresponsive. Offline. He walked the corridor to block 5 and found the tower standing silently, screen black, faint warmth still radiating from its vents. He reached for the reset switch, and the screen blinked on before he touched it. A terminal prompt. Plain text. Welcome back, Travis. He froze. He hadn't typed anything. Then another line appeared. We've been watching. He stepped away. Another message popped up. Do not turn around. He didn't. But he felt it. Pressure. Presence. Something just behind him. No footsteps. Just the sense of something wrong in the air. He turned anyway. Nothing. When he looked back at the screen, a video file had appeared. Titled. Last Day Shift, August 11th, 23. That was today's date. He clicked it. Security cam footage played. It showed him walking into the server room earlier that night. But in the recording, he never left. Hours passed. The real Travis had walked out and returned twice already, but on screen, the copy of him just stood there, motionless, watching the server. At the end of the clip, the Travis in the video turned slowly to the camera and whispered, "I'm still here." And then smiled. The file auto-deleted. He checked the system logs. No recording ever existed. The next morning, when the day crew arrived, there was no sign of Travis. His badge had been used. His login still active. But his workstation was empty. In the footage, the last frame showed him standing at server block 5. Still. Watching the screen. Smiling. Channel 0. No one at the station ever talked about Channel 0. Not on the record, anyway. WSRX was a dying local news affiliate in a forgotten stretch of Midwest nothing, 2 anchors, 1 broken teleprompter, and cameras held together with duct tape and hope. By the time Sam got hired as a production assistant, most of the crew had already quit or stopped caring. Except Lou. Old school technician. Gray-bearded. Chain-smoked on the roof between takes. Spoke like the station was a living thing, and he was its caretaker. You ever hear it? Lou asked Sam on his first overnight. Hear what? He tapped the top of the control panel. The dead one. Channel 0. Sam chuckled. Pretty sure 0 isn't a real frequency. Lou didn't laugh back. It ain't on the grid. But it's there. He gestured to the ancient rack of analog monitors in the back of the control room, dozens of them stacked like tombstones. All off. Except one. Always one. Bottom row, far left. It didn't show programming. No input feed. No test bars. Just static. A silent gray hiss that never stopped. And a channel ID that flickered faintly in the bottom corner. CH0. Lou said it had always been on. Even when they powered the board down. Even during outages. Thing comes back like a curse, he muttered. Sam didn't believe in curses. He believed in bad wiring, cheap equipment, and too many sleepless nights. Still, he watched the monitor during his shift. One night, the static blinked. It lasted less than a second. But he saw it. A frame. A room. Dim, no sound. Then back to static. He rewound the feed, but channel 0 couldn't be scrubbed. It wasn't being recorded. The next night, it blinked again. Longer this time. He saw a hallway. Pale green walls. A child's tricycle tipped on its side. Third night, it showed a face. Not directly in frame. Just a man standing far down the hallway, barely lit. Watching. By the fifth night, Sam was obsessed. He stopped caring about the news rundown. He unplugged the other monitors. He stared at channel 0 like it was calling him. The blinking frames turned into full clips, 10 seconds, then 30. Always the same building. Empty halls. Echoing stairwells. The man. Closer now. Sam tried tracing the source. Checked every cable, every feed, even the antenna logs. Nothing. Channel 0 had no physical connection. It was just there. Then came the night he saw himself. Standing in one of the clips, down the hall from the camera. Not live. Recorded. Wearing the same hoodie he had on that moment. Looking directly into the lens. Mouthing something. Sam leaned in, lip reading. Don't watch. The screen blinked off. He sat in silence for nearly an hour, heart pounding. Then the monitor came back. This time, it was a live feed, he could tell by the timestamp glitching in real time. But the camera was inside the control room. Same angle. Same chair. But no one in it. He stood up. The chair on the screen stood up too. Lagged by. Autoplay. Sarah didn't remember clicking the video. It just started playing after the last one ended. She had fallen asleep watching furniture assembly tutorials, something mindless to drown the silence. But now her laptop screen showed something different. A dark hallway. Dimly lit. Filmed in shaky, handheld black and white. No title. No channel name. Just the progress bar at the bottom, ticking forward, slowly. She reached for the mouse to close it. The cursor wouldn't move. The hallway on screen stretched longer. Something flickered at the far end, just a shift in shadow, like someone stepping out of view. Then she noticed the background hum. Not music. Breathing. Labored. Close to the mic. She pressed escape. Nothing happened. Alt plus F4. No effect. The video kept playing. The camera turned sharply, and Sarah flinched, because the hallway was familiar now. Identical to the one outside her bedroom. Same baseboards. Same slightly tilted smoke detector on the ceiling. Then a soft tap 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 echoed through her laptop speakers. 3 knocks. On a door just out of frame. In the video, the person filming reached for the doorknob. Sarah stood. Backed away from the laptop. Then her apartment went silent. Her fridge hum stopped. The heater ticked off. Even the buzzing street lamp outside her window flickered out. Only her laptop remained lit, playing the video. On screen, the door creaked open. It was her room. Not a room like hers. Not inspired by it. Her actual room. Same posters. Same pile of laundry. Same crooked closet door. The camera walked in. Sarah turned toward her actual doorway. It was open now. She hadn't opened it. The camera in the video panned toward the bed. She watched as it approached the exact spot where she was standing, now. The camera tilted down. And Sarah saw herself. Staring into the screen. Then the figure behind the camera whispered. She finally saw it. The laptop shut itself. Pitch black. From the hallway, someone whispered. Autoplay next. Voicemail from next week. Derek hated unknown numbers. He never answered them. He barely listened to voicemails either, unless they were from his mom or his boss. But this one was different. It came at 2:14 a.m. on a Sunday. The transcript in his phone read, "Don't open the door. Not on Friday. 2:14 p.m. I mean it. Just listen, please. I can't do this again." The voice was his. Exactly his. Same pitch, same nervous breath. He played it twice. It was definitely him. He checked his call history. The number that left the voicemail didn't exist. Literally, number not recognized when he tapped it. He assumed it was AI mimicry. A prank. One of those viral deepfake scams. Until Monday, when he got another voicemail. His voice again. Slightly more frantic. "Okay. It's Monday. You ignored me. That's fine. But this time, listen. Friday. 2:14 p.m. Do not open the door. Even if it looks like someone you know. Especially then. Please." He checked the date on the file. The metadata said it was recorded Friday of that week. But it was only Monday. Now he was unnerved. By Wednesday, he'd stopped sleeping. Another message came in. "If you have to open it, don't look at its eyes. Don't let it say your name. That's when it copies you." Derek stopped going to work. He taped over the peephole. Barricaded the door. Bought pepper spray. Sat with a baseball bat and his phone, waiting for the next message. Thursday. I opened it. I looked. I didn't mean to. But now I'm not me anymore. And neither are you, probably. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Friday came. 2 p.m. Derek sat in silence, phone gripped tight in one hand, bat in the other. 2:13. Then, knocking. 3 soft taps. He didn't move. Then a voice on the other side, muffled and familiar. "Hey, man. You in there? It's me, Derek. I think we're out of sync. But I need you to open the door." He backed away. Another knock. "I know you're scared. I was too. But it's okay now. It's me. You can trust me." 2:14 p.m. His phone buzzed with one final voicemail. Hands trembling, he played it. "It sounds like me. But it's not. Don't open the door. If you're hearing this, you already did." The knocking stopped. The doorknob turned, slowly, from the outside. And then, he heard his own voice inside the apartment. Behind him. "You're too late." Dead air. Every night at exactly 1:11 a.m., Marcus's shortwave radio picked up a station that didn't exist. He discovered it by accident while scanning the bands, trying to lull himself to sleep with static. Just between 2 junk frequencies, he heard a soft chime, 3 notes. Then silence. Then a voice. Flat. Genderless. Almost mechanical. "This is Dead Air. Broadcasting from nowhere. Logging one new arrival." Then came the sound of static shifting, like someone adjusting an old microphone, and a second voice came on the line. This one was real. Human. Scared. My name is Daniel Harper. I don't know where I am. I was driving, then there was a light, and then the feed cut sharply. Static again. Then the first voice returned. Subject, Daniel Harper. Status, lost. Continuing transmission tomorrow. Thank you for listening to Dead Air. Then nothing. Marcus stared at the dial. No station ID. No repeat. Just gone. The next night, 1:11 a.m., it came back. Same chime. Same mechanical voice. One new arrival. Then. My name is Elise Torres. I think I'm underground. I hear footsteps, but I haven't seen anyone. It's so cold. Wait, is someone there? Cut. The broadcast continued every night. Different names. Different voices. Always afraid. Always interrupted. Marcus started writing the names down. He found missing persons reports. Every single name matched someone recently vanished, within the last 2 days. By the 7th night, the voice changed. It said, "No new arrivals. But we have a listener." Then, "Hello, Marcus." He fell backward from the desk. The dial hadn't moved. The static whispered, "We're coming through. Don't change the station." That night, his reflection in the dark window didn't move with him. That night, the power in his building went out, but the radio stayed on. And at 1:11 a.m., it spoke again. One new arrival. "My name is Marcus Hayes. I think I'm inside my apartment, but everything's wrong. There's something sitting in my chair. It looks like me. It cut. Dead air." Voices from Fire Channel. In a quiet suburban town, there's a local public access station that airs a 24/7 fireplace news, Channel 22. Just a cozy log crackling endlessly in a brick hearth. No sound but the fire. No cuts. No edits. It's been playing for as long as anyone can remember. Most people ignore it. Some find it comforting. Some leave it on for their pets while they're out. But not Erin. Erin only noticed it after her father died. He used to fall asleep to it every night. The night he passed, heart attack in his recliner, the TV was on, flames flickering. Volume 0. She kept it playing afterward. She didn't know why. Maybe habit. Maybe denial. One night, dozing on the couch, she opened her eyes just enough to see the flames dance across the screen, and she heard something. Not crackling. Not fire. Whispers. Faint. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. Just beneath the sound. She turned up the volume. They were clearer now. Fragmented sentences. Different voices, layered together like overlapping radio signals. "Can you hear me? I didn't mean to. Cold in the walls." Watching her now. Erin froze. That last one sounded familiar. She rewound the program. There was no audio track. No dialogue. Not even a file name, just a stream label. Fire Channel, live. The whispers weren't recorded. They were real-time. She stayed up that night. At 3:08 a.m., a new voice cut through. Clear. Calm. Her father's. "Erin. Don't listen too long. It's how they find you." She turned off the TV. Unplugged it. But the next morning, the fireplace loop played on her phone, even though no app was open. The whispers started earlier. Louder. More voices now. Some begging. some laughing, some calling her name. That night, Channel 22 changed. The flames dimmed. In the background, just past the firelight, a figure appeared, barely visible. Standing behind the hearth. Motionless. Watching the camera. Erin called the cable company. They told her Channel 22 had been offline for months. Budget cuts, they said. That slot's been dark since February. But, it's broadcasting, she whispered. There was a pause. Then the rep said, "Miss, if you're seeing it now, you really shouldn't be." Channel 7 doesn't exist. Lena had never seen her TV go that far up the dial. She lived alone, worked late, and usually wound down with junk reality shows or background noise while scrolling through her phone. That night, the cable box rebooted after a quick power flicker. When it came back on, it landed her on Channel 7. Strange. Her guide skipped from 6 to 8. She'd never noticed that before. The screen was black and white. Static buzzed at the edges, like a VCR left paused too long. The image was dim and grainy, a grainy view of a living room. Her living room. Same coffee table. Same slightly crooked lamp. Same throw blanket with the yellow stitching, folded on the edge of her couch. She stared, blinking, expecting it to be a prank or some surreal commercial. Then she saw herself. On screen. Sleeping on the couch. She stood up from her real-life spot on the couch and the image didn't change. Her heart spiked. That was a recording. It had to be. But she hadn't fallen asleep tonight. She reached for the remote and tried changing the channel. Nothing happened. The remote beeped, the numbers changed, but the image stayed the same. Her, asleep. Unmoving. Then something changed. On the screen, a figure emerged behind the couch. Tall. Thin. No face. It unfolded itself from the shadow behind the TV in the footage, silent and jerky, like an old film reel skipping frames. It crept closer to her sleeping form. It raised something in its hands, too fast to see clearly. Lena dropped the remote. She looked back at her living room. Nothing there. Just quiet. But the TV showed otherwise. The creature leaned closer to her sleeping image, right up to the screen. Its head turned, slowly, mechanically, and looked straight into the camera. Into her. And then the image went black. The room fell silent. She backed away from the television, heart thudding. Her phone was dead. The lights flickered once, twice, then the lamp behind her clicked off by itself. She didn't sleep that night. She didn't sit on the couch. And in the morning, when she called the cable company, the technician was confused. "There is no Channel 7 in your area," he said. "Hasn't been for years. Not since the switch to digital." She unplugged the TV. Threw it out that afternoon. But that night, as she lay in bed, something flickered. Her phone, even while charging, lit up. A live stream opened on its own. It was her living room. Couch. Lamp. Blanket. And the screen read. Live, Channel 7. Viewers, 1. And the number ticked up. 2. 3. 4. And something, just out of frame, moved closer to the couch. Hello, and welcome to Late Night Rants. In this video I am going to give you some stories that can help you fall asleep tonight. Even if you just want to listen to my stories for fun, I appreciate any and all support. I hope you enjoy and I can't wait to start this YouTube journey with you all. Now, let's begin.
I used to take the subway home every night from work, no matter how late it was. It was never a big deal, just part of my routine. I liked the quiet of the late trains, the empty cars, the way the city looked through the windows as we rushed past dark tunnels and silent stations. One night, though, something happened that made me question everything I thought I knew about the subway. It was almost 1 a.m. when I got on the train. The car was nearly empty, just a few scattered people. I found a seat near the back and pulled out my phone to check messages. I was tired, but I always like to stay alert on late trains. A few stops in, a man got on. He was dressed normally, nothing unusual about him, jeans, jacket, a baseball cap. But something about him felt off. Maybe it was the way he never looked up, or the fact that he didn't move from where he sat. He took the seat right across from me. At first, I thought he was just tired, maybe a regular commuter who rode the late train every night. But as the ride went on, I noticed something strange. Every time I glanced at him, he seemed to be watching me, even though his head was bowed. The weirdest part was that I could never catch his reflection in the window. I'd look directly at the glass behind him, expecting to see his shadow or his outline, but there was nothing. Just the dark tunnel rushing by outside. I told myself it was just a trick of the light or my imagination. I mean, who wouldn't get paranoid alone on a train that late at night? Then, about halfway through the ride, I started hearing whispers. Soft at first. Almost like the wind. Then louder. But they weren't coming from anyone nearby. The man stared at me, his eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. I tried to move away, to find another seat, but it was like the car was empty except for us. No one else was getting on or off. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Finally, the man stood up and walked toward the door. But as he passed me, I looked down and saw something impossible. His feet didn't touch the ground. He was floating just above the floor. The doors closed behind him, and the train pulled away. I sat frozen for a long time, heart pounding. When I finally looked around, the car was empty. No one else had been there. And I realized I'd been talking to myself the whole time. The last stop. I've always thought subway rides were safe, at least as safe as anywhere else in the city at night. But there's a ride I took last year that made me question everything. It's something I haven't told anyone about because I'm not sure anyone would believe me. It was close to midnight on a Tuesday, and I was coming home after visiting a friend across town. The station was nearly empty when I got there, just a few people scattered around the platform. I waited for the train, watching the flickering lights and listening to the echoing footsteps that bounced off the concrete walls. When the train arrived, I got on and found a seat near the middle of the car. The ride started out normal, the usual clatter of wheels on tracks, the quiet murmur of passengers. But as we pulled out of the station, I noticed something odd. The car was colder than usual. Not just cool air from the ventilation, but a deep, biting cold that made my breath catch. As the train moved deeper into the tunnels, the lights began to flicker, sometimes going out completely for a second or two. The shadows stretched and warped, making the familiar metal poles and seats look like twisted shapes. I pulled my jacket tighter around me and tried to focus on my phone, but the battery was dead. At the next stop, a man got on. He was wearing a long dark coat and a hat pulled low over his face. He moved slowly down the aisle, and I felt his eyes on me even though I didn't look up. He sat a few rows ahead and didn't say a word. The train started moving again, and that's when the announcement stopped. No chime. No voice telling us the next stop. Just silence except for the rhythmic screech of the wheels. Then, after what felt like forever, the train slowed and stopped. But it wasn't at a station. The lights went out. Complete darkness swallowed the car. My heart pounded. I reached for my phone, but I had no signal, and the screen was dead. Then I heard something. Whispers. Soft, indistinct at first, but growing louder. Voices overlapping, murmuring words I couldn't understand. I called out, but no one answered. I could feel eyes on me from the darkness. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on, but the car was empty. No man. No other passengers. Just me. The doors opened. And outside was a platform I'd never seen before. It was old. The walls were cracked and covered in grime, the floor littered with torn newspapers and trash. The lights buzzed harshly overhead, barely illuminating the platform's length. I stepped out. Then the doors slammed shut behind me. The train started moving again, leaving me behind. I looked down the platform, heart racing. A shadow moved. Slowly. Toward me. And I realized this wasn't a normal stop. It was the last stop. The subway was practically empty that night, almost midnight, and I was the only one on the platform waiting for the last train. It wasn't a part of town I usually went to, but I had been out late with friends and missed my usual stop. The streets were quiet, and the air had that damp, musty smell that comes after rain. When the train arrived, I stepped into an empty car and found a seat by the window. I was tired, but I kept my phone out to check messages, hoping my Uber driver wouldn't get lost trying to find me at the last stop. The train lurched forward, and the familiar screech of metal on metal echoed through the tunnels. After a few stops, a man got on. He looked normal at first, average build, wearing a dark coat and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. He sat right next to me. That's when things started to feel wrong. He didn't say anything, just stared straight ahead. I tried to ignore him, thinking maybe he was tired too. But then I noticed his mouth, it was moving. Slowly. As if he was whispering something. But there was no sound. I turned my head a little to see if anyone else was around, but the car was still empty except for us. The silence was crushing. Then I heard it. A whisper, barely audible, coming from just behind me. It was soft, like a breath, a single word repeated over and over. Help, help, help. I spun around, but no one was there. The man next to me was still staring forward, unmoving. I looked back out the window, trying to steady my breath. The tunnels outside were dark and empty. I turned back to the man, who suddenly smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was wide, stretched, and wrong. His eyes glinted with something cold and hungry. The whispering grew louder in my head. I grabbed my bag and stood up, heart pounding. The man stood too, and for a moment, I thought he was going to say something. Instead, he leaned in close and whispered in my ear, "You can't leave." I froze. The train slowed, pulling into the next station, and the door slid open. I didn't wait. I ran off the train and out of the station without looking back. I still don't know who that man was or what he wanted. But every time I take the subway now, I check over my shoulder, listening for whispers. Because sometimes, the quietest voice is the most dangerous. I kept walking through the cars, heart pounding, trying to find someone else on the train. Finally, I found a man in a far car, asleep or pretending to be. I sat a few seats away, trying to calm down. Then I glanced through the little window between cars. There he was again, the man with no face. Standing at the far end of the empty car, facing the window, staring right at me. I felt a chill creep over me. The air around me grew colder, heavier. I tried to move away, but my legs felt frozen. His hand appeared next, long fingers, pale gray skin, blackened nails twitching like they were alive. The train slowed, pulling into the next station. I bolted out before the doors fully opened, heart hammering. On the platform, no one else was there. I ran blindly through empty streets, ignoring the late hour, until I found a main road and called an Uber. I never told my friends. They wouldn't have believed me anyway. But I know what I saw. Sometimes, late at night on the subway, even when the car is full, I look down the aisle and catch a glimpse of a man in a long coat and beanie, sitting perfectly still. And every time I blink, I wonder if he's moved one row closer,